Valley Mills.
Yeah. And here we are back again for another edition of Trey's Chowdown Live. We're happy to see y'all. We're in the studio today with John and David of Wild Acre Brewing Company. And we'll get into their business here in a few minutes. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
I used to high five and slap, but you know what's going on right now. I don't want to promote any bad stuff going on.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Okay. All right. As usual, I got some stuff I want to talk about before the show starts, and we've got some more COVID-19 closures. If you've been watching the news, I'm sure that you know this is local. Cantina Laredo was gone, downtown Fort Worth, which I think, and I say this every show, I think some of the restaurants before this, they were old, not essentially old looking, just have been around a while, and new things have opened up, and they might have been teetered a little bit and weren't sure what they were going to do, and I think some of them closed, you know, instead of having to remodel and do stuff. So, but
for sure,
it got them. So, Gas Monkey Bar and Grill, we know, is No Mas. It's still there, but changed the name, right?
That's right.
That's right.
Rebranded. Gas Monkey Live is gone.
Yeah, that's gone, yeah. Jake's Burgers on Henderson is gone in Dallas. Not all of them, just Jake's Burgers on Henderson and Dallas. Of course, Houston's last week was their last week with all their ones in DFW. I think just DFW, they're not closing all of them down, just the ones in DFW, which I loved Houston's. And then, of course, we talked about this last week, Chuck E. Cheese, and things have just gotten worse.
Right.
I talked about last week, and then they had all the looting.
Right.
173 stores got looted, and now they're looking for $200 million. And we talked about this before the show. I just, no income and looking for $200 million and $1 billion in debt.
It's a bad combination.
That's a bad combination. That just doesn't equate.
No.
But they're downstairs right now. They're doing they got 100 kids, I guess, 75 to 100 kids auditioning for a commercial, I guess, to help. They're going to see if they can help the brand a little bit, see what they can do.
Do they still have the mechanical bands with like the purple gorilla playing the cymbals and all that?
Yeah, they do.
I hadn't been in one in a while.
No, and the Chuck E. Cheese walking around in an outfit, which is hot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in that thing.
That wasn't you?
No, yeah. Well, I'd have been good at that job. No, probably not. You can't touch people anymore. I'd have been like, can't touch people anymore. You get in trouble. Oh, so you got to stay 6 foot. And how are they going to distance in a Chuck E. Cheese anyway?
It's not contactless. You got the ski balls.
Yeah, you said. Who's going to jump in the balls right now?
You got the plastic ball pit.
Yeah.
I mean,
can you imagine how nasty that thing would be?
Yeah.
Kids slobbering, eating food, dragging food, and slobber all through those balls. Hey! That just doesn't sound good. That sounds like a Covey pit right there.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a new opening. I went to a new opening, which I really enjoyed in Colony, 7 Doors Kitchen and Craft Cocktails, and it was fantastic. And the restaurant's got a great story. They've got some concepts in Denver. This is their first concept, and actually they're going to move here. They liked as much they're going to move here. But I think it's their 4th or 5th restaurant. Each one's a different concept. But his wife loves doors. And she bought these doors for like 4 or 5, 6 years, these various doors. And so they took these, and the whole doors and the frames and everything. Like one's a Spanish-style door. Anyway, so they call it 7 Doors, and they've got these 7 doors with the frames and everything set up all around this restaurant.
Interesting.
It's a really cool deal. Well, and they've got these booths they made, which I think is super cool. They enclose the booths. The booths are totally enclosed. They've got, it's like I don't know, like an old 50s style speakeasy or something, because they can hold like 6 to 8 people, and they're complete, the booths in there, and the only thing is opens the front, so it's sealed, and then it's got like a rounded roof, and chandelier comes down in each booth. It's neat. It's really neat.
What style of food are they serving?
It's all different kinds.
Right.
They have got, without a doubt, the best man candy bacon I've ever had in my life. I ordered 2 orders of it. It tastes like you're eating a candied apple, but it's freaking bacon. He said it took him 2 months to get the process down. He uses molasses, all kinds of stuff, and it is super thick. And it's, you know how candied apple is? It's the exact same texture. I couldn't believe how good it was, and it's beautiful. He uses the big, thick bacon, and they serve you 6 pieces of it, and it comes in a deal sitting up. And I mean, when I saw it coming, I was shocked at how good it was. And I told Jana, I said, I think I'm eating a candy. I mean, it would stick to the roof of your mouth like candy apple does. It was so good. I said, I got to have another one, man. Sweet, salty, savory. I mean, but not too sweet, not too salt, and meaty. I mean, it was a great combination.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, it was neat. And then Toro Pan Latin is open back up again here, and they're excited about that. We have our best burgers. We started our best burger contest concept of 2020. It's in full swing. When we visited 5 places this week, they have the one that won the best old-fashioned burger has got a fantastic new craft burger in Bonham, Texas, Mud Bones. I stopped in there. They call it the Sweet Heat Possum. I said, where do you come up with your names, your burgers? Sweet Heat Possum. I didn't forget it, though, did I?
Nope.
Yeah.
And this weekend, today and tomorrow, they're having a steak cook-off, the first event of 2020. Well, second event. The first event was the brunch event before they shut down in Dallas. But this is the first event after COVID-19. It's a big steak cook-off at Blainstone Lodge. They got 60 teams in it. It's going to be neat. Steak Association's doing it. So we are ready now. That's all for the news. And we're ready now to get down to business with Wild Acre, John, and Mr. I would call him Celebrity Chef David. All right, so Wild Acre Brewing. Everybody can see the flavors right here. These are not all the flavors, but that's some of them. We're going to get into the flavors in a little bit. Right now, we're going to talk to John, David. John, tell me how Wild Acre got started. How did the concept come about? How did it get started?
Well, I was working for a beer distribution company, big company, Benny Keith. Right. They distribute the Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch portfolio.
Right. A lot of it.
Pretty large part of Texas.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a long story, but the long and the short of it is that style of beer kind of started going down. Craft beer and imports were growing. The company made a decision to purchase this company called C.R. Goodman, and they had a statewide distribution footprint for a bunch of great craft brands.
Okay.
Oscar Blues, Dogfish Head, Real Ale out of Blanco.
I know Dogfish Head.
Yeah, a bunch of great brands. So we brought those brands into the company in 2008, and the growth was just explosive. I mean, we saw that the power of those brands in the hands of a larger distributor with a wider reach throughout the market versus being with a little distributor. You were like, whoa, this was a lion in a cage just over here. Just,
waiting to be like
no one really knew it. You could really only go buy it at Central Market or Specs. Or
were y'all shocked? Were y'all shocked at how explosive it was?
I mean, we knew we'd probably do well with it. We just did not know how well.
What do you think, and I could probably ask you this being a flavor profile, what do you think was the catalyst? What do you think made the switch from I never liked regular beers anyway.
Right.
But I'll drink a lot of the craft beers because of the flavor profiles.
Sure.
What do you think made that switch? I mean, as a brewery guy and a chef, what do you think made that switch?
You know, I think, clearly consumer tastes were changing. The people were getting there's more independent restaurants opening up. Sure. There are stores opening up like Central Market as opposed to just the regular grocery stores, and people were in an exploration mode. Yet those products just were not readily available. You had to go seek it out. So when Benny Keith got those products, we were talking to Kroger and Buffalo Wild Wing and Tom Thumbs and Albertsons, and they were like, "Yeah, let's bring it in." And they're like, "Well, here are these top items," and it just started spreading like a brush fire.
Was it a big sales pitch the first time to try to offer a big chain a craft beer? Or was there any resentment?
I think they were receptive because those craft beers were selling those are national companies, so there's parts of the market that they were really selling and performing for the company, but they just really couldn't get their hands on it down here.
Right.
To operate in those big stores, you got to provide a pretty high level of service, and once they knew that they were going to receive that from a company like Benny Keith, they were like, yeah, let's bring those on board and let's carve out a section.
And I guess being able to get the product's a big thing. You can't,
absolutely. And people have to be able to find a product to buy it, and once it became a place where people could find it.
We are instant gratification society.
Absolutely.
And just look at Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that brings, I guess, going back to your original question about how it got started. I was watching this happen, and I felt like the market in Dallas and Fort Worth and Texas in general was still pretty underpopulated in terms of craft breweries. I mean, you looked at, there was more breweries in San Diego than there was in Texas, for example. And I knew that the trend nationally was that people are going to drink local.
Right.
So that's what kind of got me thinking about it. And it took me a long time to get to that point, to jump off the cliff and do it, but we eventually did in 2015, and then we started selling beer in the middle of 2016.
Yeah, David, when you opened up one of your sandwich concepts, you were selling growlers, weren't you, full of craft beer?
Yes.
Yeah. That was I remember that was a neat deal. I thought were you one of the first ones that started doing that?
I don't think so.
I mean, in this area.
I don't know. I don't think we were.
When you started, maybe because you were advertising more, but I thought that was a neat deal.
You weren't first, but there's not many.
No,
and there still really isn't that many today.
I think it's a great idea, but anyway,
sure it is.
I think
so.
So we got as we brought on those beers. Of course, I was working for that company. I was drinking Budweiser or whatever. As soon as we brought on those beers, I was like, I got to try all this beer. So, of course, I immediately fell in love, drinking very few Budweiser since. And just got headlong into it and loved it. And, we're going to the Flying Saucer and the Ginger Man. And I was a part of some company goodwill trips to some of our bigger suppliers, and then started seeing these craft breweries operating and the people that work in them in the tap rooms. And I started just saying, we got to make this happen.
So explain this to me, because if I go in a place and I see they got 150 beers on tap, or they go, how do those damn beers stay fresh? What is the secret to keeping all? They can't be. Are they selling them all fast enough to where are they just take the kegs and throw them away and put new ones in? How do they do that?
There's, retailers all handle it differently, and it seems like there's a trend of when things first started going, it seemed like that's where everyone wanted to go, is this 100 tap deal, and it looks like now the market has kind of corrected and has gone down to more like a
always corrects itself.
24 tap model that they keep moving. All beers have different kind of levels of durability.
Sure.
Of course, everyone's trying to sell the best beer they possibly can, but yeah, it's hard to move 100 brands.
Sure. I'm sure that it's geographical too. I'm sure that what sells on West 7th may not be the same as what sells downtown. As far as, am I accurate about that?
You are. I
Okay.
mean, I think it kind of depends on the bar, the cuisine, the demographics.
Right.
It all adds up.
Unless you go to the brewery itself.
That's right.
When you go to a brewery itself, then you can kind of have whatever they have fresh, and
that's right.
And they go there for that reason, so which is a neat deal.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that visit breweries as their place to go drink, they're looking to explore.
Yeah.
And that's great. You can get them in your own backyard, so to speak, on your home turf, and
that's right.
Be able to interact with them and talk to them, and you've taken the steps to present your product in the best way, and it's a great way for us to market directly to customers.
So you left Benny Keith, and you started Wild Acre.
Yeah.
And it's y'all have some partners in Wild Acre.
We do, yes.
And the first one is over in the old ranch style bean place, right?
The old ranch style beans building. I mean, growing up, driving to Fort Worth, I grew up in Dallas. My cousins were in Fort Worth, and we would drive over, and it was almost like a part of the skyline, right there, right on the southeast before we got to downtown. That massive ranch style deal, and when I was looking for real estate to do the brewery, I got this inquiry and found this address, and I started driving. I was like, this can't possibly be right. I don't know where they're taking me. It's kind of a squirrely place to get to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because you got to go. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You got to. It's not just like an exit and it's there. No. You exit and you kind of go backwards. You take a right and then a left and get
all
on
those
down
people
there.
on the curb out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And but I tell you what, it's a great facility. It's super unique.
It's beautiful.
I mean, the property line, and we're not the entire property. We're just in a good piece of square footage within the two buildings they have on property, but it's a 21-acre fence line. So once you get into the property and park, you open up the garage doors to our tap room. We've got a big outdoor beer garden. You're looking over green grass. There's an elevated train track and trees and some old water wells. It's kind of a getaway.
It is. Y'all, if I remember right, you're one of the first people to have an air-conditioned tap room in the craft brew business, because when I first talked to Larry and I went over there, I said, "Oh my God, this is air conditioned." I was like, because all the rest of them had been hot,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is fantastic.
Just to provide a little bit of background on that, when the breweries that opened in Fort Worth, I'll just use Raw and Martin House for an example.
Sure.
At that time, you could not in Texas sell beer directly to a customer as a bar. And so the way these breweries got around it, Raw and Martin House, is they did tours where they weren't selling you a beer.
Right.
They were selling you a tour.
Right.
And then 3 beers come with our tour.
Yeah.
Very creative.
Yeah, man.
So, but the fact that you couldn't, sit down with a customer and sell a pint of beer for $5 or whatever the case may be, there's not a whole lot of investment went into tap rooms.
Right.
When we entered the business, the legislation that first passed that allowed us to do that. And I had visited some of these other breweries around the country, like in California and Colorado,
Right.
and they had these air-conditioned tap rooms. In a bar, you sit down, watch TV, talk to a friend, and I was like, why is it in Fort Worth? It's not like that you're standing in the warehouse amongst the tanks or whatever.
Especially when it's 100 degrees outside.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the breweries now are more and more,
Sure.
they're opening them up also.
Yeah.
But I think we were the first to do the air-conditioned tap room.
So you opened up there, and you're at Wild Acre Camp Bowie.
Yes.
Where Mr. Chef David Hollister comes into play.
Yeah.
And which is going to be the same way. We'll talk about the other one here in a minute. But y'all have got that new brew dinner. And I remember what used to be, that building used to have Skaggs Alpha Beta in it.
Yeah.
My dad would say, we're going to Skaggs. He'd put us in the car. We'd go to Skaggs on Saturday.
I think if you name the grocery store, it was in there at one time. Because I had people walk in. I've been told I remember when this was a Skaggs. I've been told I remember when this was a Winn-Dixie. And I think its last iteration was a Kroger.
Yeah, but it was a Skaggs. They built it for Skaggs.
Yeah.
The same guy that owned that property that owned it before, still owns it now? Because he has rebranded that sucker. He is still making money on that building. It's 50 years old or whatever it is.
So it is under new ownership now. But the reason it sat vacant, I think it was for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it may have been 12. I don't know. But it sat there vacant for a long time. It's funny. I drove by that property when we originally, when I was looking for real estate, and I couldn't even find out who the owner was. But apparently the story is it was a guy in Kroger, or a guy in Florida, and he had a long-term lease with Kroger. Kroger bailed on it, and he just sat there and collected on that lease for 12 years.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
And then after it ran out, he seriously started marketing.
In Florida, smoking cigars.
Yeah, he marketed the building for sale and got rid of it.
Monday you like me, I get paid. Friday you like me, I still get paid. That's right, yeah. So you've got the Wild Acre Brewing, and you've got a fantastic sandwich menu. And David, let's talk a little bit about the sandwich menu because I love the sandwiches. So let's talk about it a little bit. First, talk about your background. You've developed a lot of concepts. Funny enough, we talked about Gas Monkey. You're not the reason they left. You're the reason they stayed there and did successful so long because you developed the food. But let's talk about your career a little bit.
So my career, got a big start here in Fort Worth at Yucatan Taco Stand, where I was the corporate executive chef about 10 years ago. And then through that gig, I moved on to Gas Monkey back in 2013, developed that menu, maintained that menu, and back in October.
And the one in Florida.
Yeah, Key West. That one's gone now.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. That was definitely an interesting gig.
Yeah.
And then we started up Wild Acre here and kind of brought some of my oldie but goodies with the Akushi beef and the all natural product and the really good quality produce that we're bringing in from Marcon and
the great bread.
Yeah, the great bread. Yeah, local. Dallas local.
That's local.
That's
DFW's local, baby.
All right.
Right.
It is
Texan,
all one city, right?
Texan.
FWD, right?
That's right.
We're a scratch-made kitchen completely. We make all our own corned beef. That stuff brines for 6 days and then gets rubbed. And 2 days after that, we have pastrami. And we sous vide all of our turkeys. We sous vide a lot of chicken, scratch-made dressings.
I had the Fort Dip, right? Mm-hmm. Which was absolutely...
It's awesome.
With chimichurri.
Yeah, I know why you had it.
And let me tell you something. Remember when you what your other concepts, I won't say which one, but I tried your chimichurri. Well, actually, I smelled the chimichurri when I walked in. I remember this day like it was yesterday. And I said, what's it? You said, it's my chimichurri. I said, oh, yeah. You said, I make the best chimichurri. I had it to this day. I still think it's some of the best chimichurri I've ever had. It's delicious.
It's a good one.
Yeah, so you put that on top of that Fort Dip. What's all on that Fort Dip?
So we braise that. It's an Akushi beef shank. We braise it actually in our Billy Jenkins Bach over over here with a little balsamic and Dijon. This guy right here.
Oh, okay.
Yep. That braises for 15 hours. We put it on that hoagie roll with just a little bit of provolone cheese and griddled onions, and then layer that chimichurri right over the top. It's a great accompaniment. It's parsley and garlic with braised beef. So to me, that was an easy tie.
Now, do all the sandwiches have some form of y'all's craft beer in there, or just certain sandwiches?
Not all of them.
Yeah, not everyone.
Yeah.
So have you tried the fork dip? Have you tried all the sandwiches?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was introduced to David from the sandwich shop that he had called Dagwood's.
You're lucky. I'm just telling you, you're lucky.
Oh, well, they were they were selling craft beer. They were doing the growler pools like we were talking about, and they served Wild Acre beer. And our sales rep in the area is like, you got to come try this new little place. And I went in there and I loved it.
Yeah.
And then
everybody did.
Oh, it was a great spot. And when it didn't make it for any
wasn't
number
David's
of reasons.
fault, though.
Oh, no. No, it was not the food.
No, it was
sure
not.
you of that.
No, it was not.
I was super upset.
Yeah.
So anyway, years later, when we started thinking about getting in the food business, I went and sought him out, and we started talking. We actually talked for a year. At one point, we were talking about doing a deli in our tap room at the brewery, and then I kind of backed off of that idea. And then when we made the move to start an actual additional spot, we really got serious about it. And I mean, it's been a ton of fun. We've worked arm in arm all the way down to designing the kitchen and buying the product and the small wares. And David's been cooking at the brewery. He is the hero.
He's been there right before y'all opened. He's started.
Oh yeah.
Listen, when I walked in the door, I looked up, I said, "All right, who's in love with Nicolas Cage?"
Yeah.
That's a great picture on the wall. I think it's huge.
Trey, that's a picture of you, man. That's not Nicolas Cage.
That's a great. I like the style of the brewery. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought you fooled me because I thought the bricks on the floor were old Fort Worth bricks from somewhere they'd taken out of a building, and he said they'd cut them and they were half bricks or whatever.
They were half bricks. I would have absolutely loved to have done that, and I've actually. Those old long warehouses over on Lancaster? Yeah. They ripped up a bunch of that brick at some point, and I saw them stacking it. And I went over and talked to them, and I was like, I'd love to get my hands on some of this brick, but they were actually relayed it down after they did some sort of repair.
I wanted to take all that brick from the they're tearing down at stockyards.
Right.
Take that thing down brick by brick. You could make a restaurant you use for floors, for walls. I mean, and I saw them all piled up. I mean, it just
that old brick's beautiful.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But it's got a story.
Yeah, that's right.
And everything tastes better with a story. A beer, a sandwich, which you obviously know.
Yeah.
Everything tastes better with a story. That's one of the reasons I started this. What I started 10 years ago, because not only do I love eating, passionate about food and drink, I'm also love storytelling, and I think that everything tastes better with story. So
yeah. I mean, that's the reason we put brick in the restaurant.
Camp Bowie.
Oh yeah, I mean, Camp Bowie is just kind of known for the bricks, but honestly, Fort Worth really is. I mean, the major intersections downtown. You've got the stockyards. There's a lot of areas with the brick, and we wish the brick would extend on Camp Bowie all the way down to that traffic circle. And
I think it used to.
Right, it's under there somewhere. Probably.
They got lazy. It's under there.
Yeah.
You know what? That's a good lead into. Is it this one? I can't see. That's a good lead into this.
Yeah.
A lot of people nowadays don't really understand or even know the concept of how Fort Worth came about.
Right.
It was a fort. And at the end of that brick was a fort.
That's right.
And so the name of this is Billy Jenkins Brock. So tell everybody about this.
The Billy Jenkins Bach. Bach beer is something that a lot of craft breweries are doing a lot of different things. I wanted, and we certainly are too, with a bunch of these different brands. But I thought it was important to also have some traditional, old school lager type products in the portfolio. I like to drink them. I like to mix it up. So I wanted to have a product in a portfolio that reflected that. So we decided to go this. It's a classic German style Bach that we lager for 30 days. It's super crisp. It's super clean. We're trying to come up with a name for that. We're doing a little deep dive into Fort Worth. It's how we came up with the name Wild Acre. A lot of people have heard the term Hell's Half Acre.
Right.
Kind of the area in Fort Worth where all the cattle traders went, and you had the brothels.
You had to be tough.
Yeah. Gunfights and
Tough.
brothels and poker games and whatnot. Well, another name for that was the Wild Acre. As I was looking into that, and I read that, and I said, God, that's got a good ring to it. I really like that. It's got like some good natural and organic cues to it that I thought really would fit well with craft beer. So we went down that path. So then we started making the beers, and I was like, hey, I think local is important. Let's stay down this path and learn the story of.
It is important.
It is. Yeah. I think people, the people who are really passionate about it look into these things.
Right.
And anyway, came across the story of General William Jenkins Worth, who is the namesake of Fort Worth.
Right.
And he's got a crazy fun history in the Spanish-American War. He's actually buried under a 52-foot monument in New York City. 52-foot obelisk in New York City. The only two people buried on the island in such a monument are William Jenkins Worth and Ulysses S. Grant.
Yeah.
So he's really like the most famous, like he's like the closest guy to being super famous ever that really kind of wasn't.
Yeah. Had he had social media, he'd have been famous.
Oh, he'd have been huge. so we took that name, William Jenkins Worth, cut that down to Billy Jenkins, and thought that'd be kind of a fun way to kind of honor that.
I talk about Hell's Half Acre and Wild Acre. It's funny because my family's been in Texas for 160 years. My great-great-uncle was a Texas Ranger, and he went in to get a crook in the Texas hotel in the early 1900s, like 1895 to 19, and the guy wouldn't come, and he shot him right between the eyes and dropped him dead and dragged him out by his ankle out of the hotel.
It's a different time.
Great different time, yeah. Boy, you don't want to do that now.
No.
Can you see somebody shoot somebody and dragging him by the ankle? Woo!
It wouldn't play well.
They'd be hung.
Yeah.
So this is great. So let's talk about the other flavors. Now this is braised with the Fort Dip.
We have several beef sandwiches that are braised with that beer.
Okay, what are they? Fort Dip?
We have our Fort Dip. We have our Sophia Loren.
What's the Sophie Loren? Is that the one? Did I have that? No.
It's a hot Italian.
Oh,
it's hot,
Oh, that's good. That's good. Hot Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, we have a sandwich called Billy Jenkins. That's the braised beef with gorgonzola, crispy leeks, arugula, tomato, rosemary.
You like those leeks, don't you?
Oh, on beef, yeah. Yeah. Actually, it was another beef company up in Montana, Meyer. I went up there, and the chef up there cooked me a filet and put fried leeks over the top of it, and I was done after that.
You're the first place I had fried leeks. It was good. It was good. So you got 3 sandwiches, no 4. You named off 4?
It's
three.
It's 3. We do a feature here and there with the
Okay.
4th one. We do one with the horseradish and fermented purple sauerkraut.
I love horseradish. So which one is it? This is the this is the ranch style.
That's the ranch style pills. I mean, and similar to the Billy Jenkins, this is another one of the ones that we do that is just a classic. I mean, this is just a true to style German Pilsner. We named it after our property where we are. We're in the old ranch style beans building. So we wanted to it's kind of a tip of the cap to where we are in our original location. And
again, local history.
Yeah, that sign's been long taken off the building.
Why did they do that? Why did they just leave it there?
They did
off the stack, right? It's off the stack.
They did for the longest time, but I mean they've been out of there. I want to say 15 years.
It was just kind of like an anchor, though.
It's really interesting if what happened. I've stood in that tower and there's no one in it. The people operate around it, but it's totally hollow. And apparently, ranch style beans. This is kind of a funny story. I don't know if anyone's interested. in this, but apparently there's a water well on property where they soak the beans and then they would put the beans in the can. And in that tower was lined conveyors going up, and underneath ovens they actually cooked the beans in the can. Like the can, I guess, was the pan, so to speak.
Well, back then they were real cans, so you could actually cook them.
That's right. And they cooked the beans in the can and then sealed them, and all that happened up in that tower on conveyors.
Well, if you remember right, when I was a kid, you could smell that cooking.
Oh yeah.
If you drove anywhere near that, it would just be lofting in the air there.
Right.
It was fantastic.
I mean, I grew up on ranch style beans.
They're good.
Oh,
they were good.
Oh yeah.
But that would stand to reason. That's a pretty good idea. Talk about saving money. Cooking them as they go up. That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
You couldn't get down 30 without smelling ranch style. Then Mrs. Baird's.
I know. Oh, yeah.
By the time you got home, you're hungry.
Mrs. Baird's was the best to smell.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. My dad, we did a lot of business with Mrs. Baird's. All our restaurants served Mrs. Baird's, and we would go on tours every so often. And he'd say, "We're going to go to Mrs. Baird's." First time, he said, "I don't want to go to." I was a kid. I don't want to go to Mrs. Baird's. That you going to get fresh bread with butter? Then I said, "Let's go." And ever since then, I went to every Mrs. Baird's tour we went on because they would give us a cut up hot bread and slather that butter on there.
Oh yeah.
I'd eat a whole loaf.
Yeah.
Can't tell it now, but probably can't tell it now.
Yeah.
But those are two good things about I-30, ranch style beans. And,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Good
Good
Fort
deal.
Worth history.
So we got this is the
Agave Americana is
it says Hector Con Nectar. So what is it? What is this?
made with agave and lime.
Yeah.
So we brew that beer with a all natural blue agave nectar. Kind of gives it this kind of earthy feel, and then we add lime. So it's kind of got it's just a fun, good,
that little bite
kind
to
of
it, yeah.
interesting ale. I don't know what category it
like
really
that
would
can.
fall in. It's a lot of fun.
So how'd you develop this flavor? How do you develop your flavors?
It really happens in a ton of different ways. And it can, I think it comes from a bunch of different angles. Like it could come from me telling the brewers, hey, this is something that I had or I saw that I think some guys are doing really well. Look into that, or here's a can of it, riff off of something like this. Or it could just be the brewer saying, I've just got an idea and I put this together and here's what I did. Or it could be someone has a really good idea for a label and said, hey, brew something that you think would fit this. I mean, it literally comes from all different directions. It's from everywhere.
I was just fixing to ask you, do you make a name first?
It's happened both ways. I mean, it really has.
What about the sandwiches? How do you name them? Do you name them first to make sandwiches? You make sandwiches and make the name?
It could go either way. You have a great name, you just kind of fill the sandwich. But
what is the best beer sandwich selling combination flavor profile that y'all sell at the brewery? Like if I didn't know, if I'd never been to Wild Acre and I wanted to come try a beer and a sandwich, what would be the best combination to try?
God, that's a great question.
I mean, right now the Fort Dip with that ranch style is pretty good. That's a pretty good combo.
It's Fort Dip. You're getting Fort Worth dip, and you're getting a ranch style bean beer. Yeah.
I mean, David will bring some really fun, interesting, and rich flavors to the food. And they run the gamut. There's some that aren't like that, but on some of those sandwiches like that Fort Dip, it's got all that hardiness to it. This is clean, crisp, can just like cut it and be
I always
refreshing.
get excited to try anything he comes up with. I've always loved his food. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind. I always love it.
Let me tell you, it's new to me. I've loved food. I love going to restaurants, but watching David's been super cool.
He's passionate about it, isn't he?
Oh, I mean, it's not an accident. He is a student of the game.
Very much so.
His desk has got all these the flavor Bible and all these. He consumes articles. He does a lot of experimentation, and it's much like brewing beer. And the thing I love about David is you hear a lot of stories about chefs being like super prima donnas.
Yeah,
not naming it on anyone. He'll
he's
make
the guy next door.
He's critical of himself. He says he's like
he's his worst critic.
He's his worst critic. He's like that's
so.
not good enough. He goes back to the drawing board, and I think that's great.
Yeah,
I didn't just master this and don't touch it. He's not that way at all.
No, if the old adage, if it's broke, don't fix it. That don't go well with David.
That's right,
David. Now let's just talk a little bit about your grilled cheese sandwich and how you came up with that, because you did a lot of thinking and to come up to devise your grilled cheese sandwich because the cheese pull, right? That we talk about.
Yep.
So talk about what it went into creating your grilled cheese sandwich. You wasn't just put two pieces of bread together with cheese. Tell us how you did it.
So to tell that, we had to kind of go where it started at.
Right.
We created a grilled cheese that in my mind was a no-brainer. It had three great cheeses, two meltable cheeses, and then burrata in the middle. And at the end of the day, I just couldn't get over it. That to me, it just didn't have enough flavor, enough pow, I guess you could say. And so I was doing my research, and I found out there's actually a pH balance in cheese for meltability, which would go great in a grilled cheese. And I found out that between the areas of 4.4 and 4.6 on a pH balance, and it might be 5.4 to 5.6. is your area. And so
is that the moisture content?
It's the pH. You might be able to explain more than I can. I really don't know. I was just like, okay, let me go find the cheese with this pH balance. And I found a couple, and we did what we needed to do. We changed the bread and put it on a brioche Pullman loaf, and added a little acid to it, like Dijon mustard, a little bit of heat, and some Newski's bacon, cherrywood smoked. And now it's a Tillamook medium cheddar with the red wax Gouda, and we put a little Grana Padano in there for some salt. And then the fattiness from the bacon and the acid from the Dijon on brioche and toasted in salted butter, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's pretty solid.
It's bam.
Yeah.
You take your first of all, you know, the ciabatta, it's just delicious.
Yeah.
If someone says they don't like grilled cheese, they've never tried one of his.
Yeah. He definitely takes things in a unique direction.
Yeah, he does.
It's I love it because it fits with what we're trying to do and be as a beer company, and it's all, and we're taking the food every bit as serious as the beer. We have entered into a new business. Our name is on it, so we're going to be just as passionate and as serious about it, and onboard talent to reflect that. And it's been a ton of fun.
You're passionate about your beer, your food, and Fort Worth and being local, which is fantastic. You know, it's a lot of people. The bigger beer companies aren't going to do that. They're in it to try to move volume all over the United States, and y'all are. While you want to move volume, you have to stay in business. It's good to be passionate about something, and it shows. What are these other two things, right? These other two flavors.
That's one of our original brands right there. That is it's called T-Hawk IPA. It is it's just a
Indian
great
Pale Ale.
India Pale Ale. It's got a good malt backbone, some firm hop bitterness, really solid beer. It's a great beer. It's a kind of I would say, an older style IPA. It seems like IPAs are moving in a direction, or it doesn't seem this way. They are. They're moving in a direction away from like kind of lighter, crisper, brighter, less bitter, more fruity, more juicy. They call them juicy, and you're kind of seeing a shift. So we've got a lot of innovation in the pipeline and the IPA field, one of which is this Juicy Bingo.
Yeah, I was just fixing to say, man, I want to tell you, just the name alone, Juicy Bingo. Look at that, Juicy Bingo. Ron, you want some Juicy Bingo?
It's so good.
This beer is great, and let me see this can. I was going to show the kind of the concept of this thing is, the IPA market is evolving so much.
Can you put the overhead on, Ron, please, sir? Yeah, there we go. Can you see the logo? There.
So the idea, we call it, it says it's a rotating hazy IPA series, and this is basically a vehicle for these brewers to be creative. They're going to be brewing within this style, but then they're going to be experimenting with all kinds of different hop and fruit additions, and we're giving them an opportunity just to continue to do that under this banner. So we have put out 2 series right now. Series 3 is coming soon, and what the label is a bingo card.
Oh, I just noticed that.
And for each style, we just vary the color a little bit, and then the squares that are revealed kind of reveal something about the beer, some tasting notes, the hops that we use, the alcohol content. So we just kind of shuffle that bingo card.
I see that. Okay,
from series
that's cool.
to series, and we're hoping that we have some people that are collecting those cans and saying, when's the next one coming out, because they want to keep up with these cans. So it's just something kind of, it's a fun vehicle to innovate with, and a fun way to interact.
Candied orange.
Candied orange.
What was that? Is that still a flavor?
It's just a flavor that that we kind of felt came through on a
I like that
on a hop. The old sugared candied oranges, Brock's or whatever you had when you're growing up. Just kind of, there's something about that someone felt that it was really giving that off.
David, what's your favorite beer flavor there? I'm not trying to pin you to the wall. I'm just curious what your favorite flavor is.
I mean, truth be told, one of ours, the Thunder Hug was my favorite.
Thunder Hug?
Yeah, but I drink the Wild Acre, the ranch style
more than
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one is a very close second to the ranch style, the Juicy Bingo. Yeah, but I can have a few more of those. And
so how did the name come about? But the actual first thing of the name, do you remember? So you ought to be writing this stuff down so you can write a book when you get famous, John.
Yeah, that'd be something. I don't know. I honestly think there's been a resurgence of bingo halls here recently.
Yeah, there
has
been.
Have you seen anything about that?
Yeah.
And I was I saw some story about that, like on the news or something, and I started thinking, and we were working on it. We were starting to work on a way to come out with and we were working on the idea of having this hazy IPA series. And I mean, looking back on it, I think I kind of came up with this idea of just like, okay, the bingo card, you get a bingo card and it's got, there's pieces of information hidden, there's pieces of information revealed. And so that's kind of how we got there.
It just came together.
That's kind of how we got there.
So you are going to start serving sandwiches. Are they going to be the same sandwiches over at the main brewery?
No.
Okay, so what are you doing there? Let's talk about that.
So there's an old shed right outside of our beer garden.
Right.
And we basically, the property owner redid that entire shed and formed it into this kind of little commissary kitchen with an adjacent smokehouse.
Deal. Yeah.
Joe Risky operated out there as an outside operator for a couple years. And then we have since made the decision to take over that kitchen. We have the talent on board now. We've got the expertise. It just made sense for that to be a Wild Acre property and kind of all be one deal.
Yeah, it's right there.
Right there. So, and I'll let David talk more of this, but we're going to be doing some fun stuff. Kind of going down the Mexican burrito route. We really want to get out some food that is good for shareables and good for just like hanging around and eating as opposed to having to sit down, knife and fork. And David's coming up with some super cool stuff.
All right, David, let's go. Fire away there. Bam, bam.
Oh, speaking of fire.
Yeah,
you know how I like to do a little wood grill.
Oh, that's right.
Wood grilling and smoking.
Right.
Yeah, so Firefly Grilling Co. Built us a beautiful Parrilla grill.
This thing is awesome.
Yeah.
Is that the one you showed me a while ago?
Yep.
I wish we would have, if I thought about it, we could have had pictures, we could have showed it, as we talked about it. I didn't think about it. Yeah.
Well, there'll be some more photo ops when we get grilling on that thing. But so we're gonna mesquite grill, carne asada, our chicken. We're gonna make a lot of burritos, nachos, tacos, stuff like that with all wood grilled meats, fresh cut veggies. We'll do all the pickling in the house, fermenting the sauces, all the good stuff. And
you're a big sauce and ferment guy. You make them all yourself.
Yeah.
So like if I go into your restaurant and I say, hey, where'd you get that sauce? You're going to tell me you made it.
Yeah.
That's what I love, all the things you do. Back up a minute, let's talk about the grill. Explain to people basically that they're listening kind of about how the grill is going to be. It's a grill you have on a cable system. They roll it up and down, correct?
Yeah. So the grill is a big steel cage, and it has a crank on one side, and it raises and lowers the grill grates over the heat depending on how hot or cooler, I guess you could say, you'd want it. It also has interchangeable racks that can come over that you can slow roast vegetables.
That's what I was going to say. So you can control the heat on the cooking of the products.
Yeah, you can tie, like if you're going to do a tomahawk ribeye over the top, you could tie it and hang it off one of the bars and let it slow roast and then drop it at the end to hard sear it.
Oh, I see some photo ops coming there.
David was explaining this piece of equipment to me, and I was like super skeptical. I was like, we're trying to complicate something very simple here. We need to have chicken and
I bet you were your business sense kicked in, didn't it?
And then when I saw that thing, I just said, people are going to look at that and see it full of all this stuff, and they're just like, I'm eating. I'm getting something off that. And I was like, that's the route we're headed.
You can have a tomahawk swinging back and forth. You just come out and nudge it with your elbow, watch it swing back and forth.
He had the Firefly guys bring one out in a trailer and roll it out, and that was a good move because I was sold immediately. I was like, this is going to be awesome.
Well, if you remember back at Dagwoods too, one of my things with the tri-tip was to cook it directly on the coals.
That's right.
Which is always a show because people
you had
don't
a big
see
window
it
there
like that. Yeah. And people don't see that anymore. And of course, Terry Chandler and I did that a Blaze event a few years ago. Yeah. We cooked those big tomahawks right on the coals.
Yeah.
And poor Lou Lambert, he didn't have the show over there. We had it in front of us over there.
Yeah.
But we'll do some of that, and it's just going to be such an intense sear flavor of wood and meat. And these burritos,
shareables. You said shareables.
Shareables, yeah. But the intensity of that heat and that smoke on that meat is it's only going to add to this right here, the drinkability of these beers.
It's going to be fantastic. Yeah. When you said they brought it out to you and rolled it out, and you saw it, something else my granddad used to say all the time. My granddad used to say, you can't sell merchandise from an empty wagon. You got to go and display what you got.
That's exactly right.
And they sold you displaying their merchandise, didn't they?
They did.
They hooked you like a fish.
They did. They did.
Like that.
They did. I mean, it's just cool. Not always it's functional. It's just it's stylish and it's fun, and it's just not something that people have in their backyard.
No.
It's cool. It's going to be fun to watch.
People and the cooking shows prove it. Man Fire Food. It just shows you how people like to watch that. They did a special at 44 Farms, a whole show at 44 Farms, and they had these things made. They had one, the meat was actually hanging and swinging, and one, the guy was rotating the meat around. It was a neat deal.
Yeah.
And it just, people just like watching.
Yeah.
Hell, if you love food, if you love to eat, or if you just like cool stuff, it's just something different, like you said.
Well, one of the great things about it, too, is as many more people are cooking and experimenting with food today at home, this is one of those great opportunities to come and see what we do as chefs in the kitchen that is different from what they can or do at home.
Right.
So to sit there and watch akushi beef be grilled over wood fire and all this stuff, or right in the coals, they're going to take that same idea and go home with it. So it's a learning process.
Sure.
It's learning for them, too, which is
they're going to get education.
Yeah.
They're going to get to drink some delicious craft beers and eat some rich and tasty, delicious, savory food. How can you go wrong?
You can't.
All in one location.
All in one spot. Yeah.
You're going to be a destination, aren't you?
That's the plan. I mean, if
You're going to have music?
we do periodically have music. We don't all the time. You know,
y'all have it, but if you don't, you'll have it playing. You have speakers,
oh
right?
yeah.
I've heard that.
There's always music, always music going. Periodically on larger events, we'll do some live music.
Yeah, I was at a big event there one time, and you had a bunch of food. There was some, like 3 or 4 or 5 food trucks out there. I had there was that biscuit thing was there. It was when you first were going, but
we used to do the food truck thing, and then we got out of that when we had the kitchen operator there, and then now just doing it all of our own, making it a
much better,
all Wild Acre experience, and we're really trying to take it to a different level there.
Yeah, Wild Acre experience. I like that.
Just make it a
Wild Acre Day.
That's right. Show up, you're gonna drink from us, eat from us, hang out, enjoy the setting. It should be a fun way to spend an afternoon.
So, what is your favorite beer at Wild Acre? If you had one favorite beer, what would be the one you would drink?
I really, and I mean this, I switch around a lot and I go on streaks.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I guess you have to. Yeah,
you do, because you get into a, it's like they say you get into something, and then all of a sudden it just becomes it kind of becomes your deal,
right?
And so everything new that we come out with, I spend a lot of time with. I take
you have to, I guess.
Yeah, you take a 6-pack home, and you're like, all right, hey, did we do this well? Did we not? And or what do I think about this? Because a lot of things we come out with, we may just be canning 500 to 1,000 cases. We're going to send it out to Benny Keith, get it in some stores. When it's gone, it's gone. We're going to be doing something else. But every time you do that, you're thinking, you want to be looking at sales and how it's performing and thinking about, is this something we want to do all the time? And to make that decision is a whole new level. You got to buy a lot of raw materials and packaging. You're going to be dedicating tank space and time to it. So to make a decision to make something a permanent brand is a pretty big one. So you need to spend some time with with whatever you make.
Yeah. Here I go with another story again. This is great. You said when you're going to do something permanent, you got to make sure it's going to work. You're going to like it, right?
Yeah.
Ray Wiley Hubbard, he said, he's got that song, his most famous song about, the Texas song. And Ray Wiley, if you ask him, they'll say, what creates a good song? He said, well, if you write a song, you have to realize, and it's a good song, you have to really love it, and you've got to like it. You're going to have to sing that song over and over again for years and years. And he said, at first I didn't like it, but now twice a year I go out to my mailbox and I really love it.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
it's kind of the same thing,
That's right.
Yeah. You've really got to like it, because if it's going to be around and you're going to support you, then you got to like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Texas Blonde, is that something that's around all the time?
That's our number one brand.
Okay.
That's our best selling brand.
You let us try this beer. It was very good. Mm-hmm. It's light.
It's a great beer. I mean, it's got a.
I love that can too. That's a Blue Bonnet.
Yeah, just real super iconic symbol. A Blue Bonnet you see all on the highways, in spring, and that beer is it's got some hop. It's kind of a unique take on a blonde. It has a little bit of a hop characteristic to it. Really unique flavors. Kind of the star of that beer is a hop called a Zaka, which is a really quality hop.
What's that again?
It's called a Zaka.
A Zaka?
Yeah.
Is that a Japanese or
it's
Asian?
Pacific Northwest.
Pacific Northwest,
which is where the vast majority of the hops come from
Okay.
in the U.S.
Okay.
But it's great. It gives off some like it gives off a natural pineapple notes. So later this year, I mean, actually here in about a month, we're be coming out with another beer that's going to be called Texas Blonde Imperial Pineapple. So we're taking the Texas Blonde. We're going to take its alcohol content from about 5.4%, which is what you have there.
Okay.
We're going to be elevating that to about 7.2%. More of the Azacca hops, but then we're going to be adding a lot of natural pineapple that we sourced from Costa Rica.
I love pineapple.
And it is
really good.
Dude. Anything pineapple's going to be good. It's from Costa Rica. That pineapple from Costa Rica is sweet, right? It's sweet and flavorful.
It's really nice. It's good. We experimented with this and brewed it at our Camp Bowie location.
Yeah.
Served it up, and we went through, what was it, like 6 kegs in a day and a half or something?
Are the pineapple notes pretty strong? I mean,
yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's going to be good.
I'll make sure you get one when we.
Oh boy,
it's gonna be delicious. So we're super excited.
Are you planning on keeping around? Or does it have to be a seasonal type deal?
Oh, well, I think we can. We're looking into the possibility of how we can source the pineapple year round. If it does well, we will find a way to get it done. I'll put it that way.
Okay. I heard you. I didn't know. So Benny Keith is distributing your beer.
They are.
Okay, you're not self-distributing.
We did it all of that ourselves for 2 years. Our first 2 years around, we sold it all and delivered it all.
Okay, and you changed.
And then we moved into distribution after 2 years.
You have a much better distribution. Obviously, what do you call it? Distribution.
It's where
avenue or whatever.
It's where my background is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can obviously do both. Self distribution is it's a ton of work.
It's not expensive, right?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously, if you sell to a wholesaler, you're going to be giving up margin because they're going to have to have margin to sell to the retailers. I guess the way you come down to, if you're going to keep on doing self distribution, you certainly can. In my mind, you become so consumed with taking care of your customers and getting your product to where it needs to be when it needs to be there, that I looked up and I was like, I'm not developing the company.
Right.
I mean, we're not.
Yeah.
So
the flavors, which are important.
So we were going to make a call either to, hire and bolster those agents so I could in the self distribution side, so I could pull out of it.
Sure.
Or make the move to go into distribution, and we went ahead and made the move at that time.
So, if somebody asked me, man, what is Wild Acre? What would you tell them? I guess you'd say it's a brewery. It's experience. What would you tell them?
I mean, I would just tell them that I think we're just a company full of passionate people, totally dedicated to what we're putting out there, and beer and food.
Yeah.
Our roots are in beer, but we're expanding who we are as a company. We started out as kind of a production brewery, then we added the kitchen to the brewery. Then we added the
you smile every time you say kitchen. You smile, so you must really love it.
It's been. I think it's a great addition to the company. It's
he loves you, David.
It's just brought in a fun new layer of creativity.
Yeah.
And if we're going to go into something, we're going to go into it all in. So we're just expanding who we are as a company, and we're dedicated to both equally.
If you don't go into something all then it ruins your brand.
That's
it
right.
winds up ruining your brand, and if it takes your brand down, you don't have a business left.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
You got to have all. You can't just put one toe in the water.
Right. Yeah, we want people to think about us. If we can hook you with food, great. If we can hook you with beer, great. But we want to become a brand that's kind of part of the fabric of the local community. Something that's like, if someone visits you from out of town and say, hey, what are we going to do in this town? Well, we're going to hit Wild Acre. We can either go to their main spot and do the burritos and hang out in the beer garden. We can go over here to the restaurant or whatever, or that's what we're going to drink on the back patio tonight when we come home after dinner or whatever. That's what we want to be.
So, what's y'all's website? If someone wants to check y'all out, what's the website?
It's www.wildacrebrewing.com.
WildAcreBrewing.com. That's on the World Wide Web, as they say.
That's right.
Are the sandwich menus on there?
They are.
They are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But y'all change your menu so they can't actually. You do special stuff so you can't actually go by just what's on that website, right? Because you change your menu. Do you add weekly specials and stuff?
Yeah, we have weekly features, and we're currently in the process of getting to our finalized menu for what'll be for the first quarter.
Awesome. And what is the social media for Wild Acre Brewing, right? No, it's not. It's Wild Acre Camp Bowie.
We have at Wild Acre Brewing.
Okay.
And then is it Wild Acre Camp Bowie?
Yeah, it's Wild Acre Camp Bowie.
Yeah, and at Wild Acre Camp Bowie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then because which is good, you differentiate that way people would know, because you're obviously going to have different stuff at one than you do the other, which is good.
And we're dealing with some growing pains. I mean, there's some people who are calling and saying, are the sandwiches here or the sandwiches there? Can I get that here? But we're just trying to figure out how to communicate that message. But people are.
I tell everybody sandwich on the bricks. That's what I've been putting in my post. Sandwich on the bricks.
There you go.
Because I love Camp Bowie bricks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except when they flip up and they smack in the side of your car, which they've done a couple times in my 5 decades living in Fort Worth.
Right. It's always under repair somewhere.
It's always a repair.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you guys coming. I'm going to shake your hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
David, as always.
Yeah.
As always, buddy. And I want everybody to go visit Wild Acre this weekend. Camp Bowie. And they can go to both places on the weekend, right?
Absolutely.
It's just that the one on Camp Bowie's got the sandwiches.
They do. Yeah, it's a full-blown, it's a full-blown sit-down restaurant, 11 to 11 every day. The tap room and beer garden is open every Saturday from 2 to 6, and we'll be expanding those hours as soon as we get that kitchen operational.
Yeah, that tap room is shiny, too.
It's going to be nice.
Well, when I first walked in there, I saw it was super clean. I mean, it was, of course, all of them are clean now around town, but it was just a really nice deal. That's the one with the old ranch-style bean place.
That's right.
So we'll be here next week, same time, same bat channel. Look us up, TreyChapman.com on the World Wide Web. David Hollister, you can look up. You still have your Chef Hollister?
Whatever you want, right?
Yeah. Look him up. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all next week. Appreciate it. I'm Trey Chapman, publisher of TreyChapman.com. I'm passionate about finding the best food, drinks, and chefs, and sharing it all with you. I should know I have over 5 decades of food experience. Find me on any podcast platform, Facebook Live, or just Google me. Now you can watch and listen to all my great finds every week on my live TV and radio podcast at Trey's Chowdown Live.